GPL wins.
People pirating our stuff.
You have to care about GPL.
I'm embracing the GPL because it leads to better software.
The WordPress ecosystem is powered by a license called the GPL. And what is important to know about that license is that it's infecting. Okay, every derivative of a GPL license software must be also GPL.
The GPL really was an innovation. It sets up a system that encourages collaboration in a way that generally produces better software than we would have gotten otherwise.
The only reason why we are able to create these great businesses on top of WordPress as a platform is because of the GPL license.
It's kind of amazing because you don't need to reinvent the wheel every time that you need to build something. You can look at other solutions, other plugins or themes, see how they are implementing their code and leverage parts of that code, maybe all of the code too.
We can create pieces of work that are pretty much derivative of WordPress, and we can slap a price tag on it and sell them.
GPL is coming with a bunch of freedoms which allows everyone to take your code and literally distribute it as is, right? So unlike other software businesses, you don't really have a way to protect your code. Tomorrow someone can buy a license of your product and literally take your code base and leverage it to start a new company, a new business, right, running the same code base. There is nothing you can do about that. So it's really important you understand that when you're actually getting into that ecosystem.
Now, I still see a lot of businesses that, will like, okay, GPL, but they don't really embrace it. Like if I search on your website for GPL, like there's no hits.
From my experience, GPL has a very important role to play within the WordPress ecosystem. But when it comes to premium products, we should have that freedom of deciding if it's okay or not to GPL our product.
You need to accept that some people will redistribute your products. Legally, there's nothing to stop them from doing this unless they actually infringe your copyright, for example, by reusing your text and images.
Some people are selling our plugins on Fiverr, or were. We put a stop to it. So they would buy a potentially unlimited license of one of our plugins and then offer it on Fiverr to install it on people's sites for $5, which is obviously very difficult if you're a plugin developer when somebody's installing your plugin for $5 and undercutting you.
As soon as you have something that kind of takes off, it's kind of a stamp of approval that those trolls have found you and then they starting to distribute your product. But more than that, they're creating a very bad reputation, not only for the ecosystem, but they're creating a bad reputation for us as a product. They're ruining the brand because people are using outdated versions and that sometimes break their websites. Since then, WordPress have evolved and the latest version is as it should, but these platforms rarely keep the products up to date, and it's a very kind of a Wild West kind of situation that I wish that WordPress.org would address and take care of.
I think that people are going to resell your theme or plugin no matter what the license is. It's always going to happen. And I think whether you make a GPL or not, I don't think it makes a difference.
Some companies try to protect themselves by putting their documentation behind a paywall so that only paying customers can access it. But I think that you can miss out from doing that. Our customers constantly tell us that they've bought our plugins because of the quality of documentation which they checked out before they bought. And we've directly tracked $7,000 worth of sales from people who arrived on our website on the documentation rather than on the plugin sales pages.
Our software does end up on troll sites or pirated or resold, but really whenever I hear especially a newer WordPress product company concerned when this starts happening to them, I actually look at it as a sign of success.
Once you get to that point and you're seeing people copy and resell, it just means you've reached a certain amount of success. And I think those people that are purchasing pirated copies or illegitimate copies wouldn't have purchased your plugin or theme anyway. And I think the true value of what you provide is not just the product, but the support and new features in the community and making sure you're listening to your customers and allowing them to help shape the plugin or the theme I think that's what a lot of people buy into more than just the product.
My vision is for the long haul. I need Paid Memberships Pro to be the best membership platform on WordPress from a software standpoint. And embracing the GPL is going to lead there. GPL is the license that WordPress core software uses, and it's the license that the WordPress leadership encourages for plugins and themes. Matt Mullenweg, but also everyone else working to lead and support the WordPress ecosystem is encouraging the GPL license. So I feel like, if you want to play in this garden, you should play by the rules. Like, it's going to be harder for you if you fight against things like this.
What we're selling in WordPress is really access to automatic updates and support. So in some ways, these GPL sites and trolls are just doing marketing for us. And then when the customer ends up needing support of some kind to help them with the product or figure out what they want to try to execute with the product, they end up buying the product from us.
If you try to chase people down, if you try to constrict everything, if you try to stop everything from happening, to somehow limit the redistribution of these things, you're spending your time really focusing on the wrong things. You're almost biting off your nose to spite your face, considering that the only reason you're working in the WordPress ecosystem is GPL in the first place. And secondly, if you provide a good enough service and a good enough product, a good enough support, good enough updates, good enough API integration, then that's completely fine, because that's a service.
When we were smaller, we actually overlooked the GPL thing, and we released our product on the marketplace and hence adopted the split license. Because of that, true WordPress fans have some doubts about our product, even though that we adopted GPL license completely since then, but some guys are still skeptical.
2 years ago, we decided to relicense our flagship WordPress theme JupyterX under 100% GPL. That was a risky decision for a team with 100,000 customers, and here it turned out to be a rewarding decision. Because the market you are concerned to lose or endanger is not overweighing the huge new market you get by giving the ultimate freedom with your product. We did not economically lose anything, but in fact we increased sales. So go for GPL.